I'm Dr. Bart Rademaker, and this is the Doctor's Guide podcast, raw and unfiltered. And once again, bringing to you some amazing human beings that can help guide you in the process that you need to optimize your health. And the beautiful thing about this podcast is that, we're extending in all dimensions. So it's not just, the medical aspect, but it's all everything else as well. And so this is why this show is particularly exciting, because not only do we have somebody from down under, but we also have an amazing reverend that I've interviewed in the past before. And the point of all of this, by the way, is simply this, is that this podcast is for everyone, because everyone I know has some sort of problem. And then you're seeking some sort of resolution. And where do you go? Well, hopefully you find some people that are going to help you. But most of the time, what we do is we go on the internet, we start, scrolling down, and then ultimately, mostly, we get very confused because the information is so overwhelming and you don't know who to trust. And besides that, is it also appropriate for you? So that's the purpose of this podcast. So at times people might get triggered by what we talk about here, and that's okay, because that means that's a message from the deep that's telling you that there's something to work on. Or you might be very skeptical, but you know what? This is also that opportunity to open your horizons to actually see what's available for you. So we get to have the conversations that normally aren't available, so that you can then progress in your life in the way that's best suited for you. But I tell you one thing, I love all my guests. They're all amazing, and they're all wizards at what it is that they do. So how do we do that today? It is through a role play. And basically, one person will present with a problem, and the other one will act as a guide. Now, this role play is only about 6 or 8 minutes. So oftentimes you get some amazing resolutions. I would say at least 60, 70% of the time. This may be a personal issue when that's the case. Maybe it's somebody else that they're familiar with. But my hope is that you get to witness yourself in that role play and appreciate the fact that there is a possibility and a pathway for your health optimizing. So what we'll do in a moment is we'll have each of my amazing guests introduce themselves. We'll dive into a 6 or 8 minute role play, and after which we'll unpack all of that so that you can get any specific distinction or insight or action step that you can take, and have the comfort that you will be on the right path. So Shara, thank you so much, or I should say Reverend Shara. Thank you so much. We met a while back at Burning Man. It was a delightful experience when I attended one of your amazing workshops over there. Interviewed you after that as well. Please introduce yourself, and then we'll go with Una, and after that, we'll go through the role play.
Wonderful. Okay, hi. My name is Jarrod Ogen. I work as an intuitive coach, combining the magic of coaching and clairvoyant readings to remove subconscious blocks that get in the way of somebody finding love, personal and career fulfillment, and abundance in all realms. Prior to that, for 25 years, I worked in the medical field as a therapist. And so I combine a lot of the practical and the metaphysical into all of my work. I've written 3 books and 7 DVDs on health and healing. This is one of them. And in this book, I outlined about 150 diagnoses, the root causes and solutions from a mind-body perspective.
Wow, that's amazing. And what's particularly exciting about you, Shara, is the fact that you come from a very scientific and academic world that many people rely on and relate to, but now you've really gone into that other realm where so much magic actually does happen. And so you're walking in the best of 2 worlds, and therefore in a great space to support others in where they may be showing up with some sort of confusion, and then you're showing them the light, I guess. So that is amazing.
I come from a background like you of physicians and mainstream, and like so many people, I had a medical diagnosis that mainstream medicine was unable to cure or fix. And the more I continued through this journey of seeing the role that the mind and the body and the spirit plays in our own health and healing, that's brought me to where I am today.
That is amazing. Well, thank you for that introduction. Una?
Hello, my name's Una. I go by Una Bella, and I am many things. An artist. I got a BFA from the University of Colorado, and a teacher. I have a master's degree also in Colorado for teaching, but I ultimately learned the most traveling around the world. This is where I find my passion and my joy. Ended up 22 countries in Costa Rica, got my yoga teacher training down there, and started a retreat organizing company. So that retreat organizing company took me here to Australia, where I was luckily locked down in that fateful 2020 time. And I have been here ever since, basically doing what I call cosmic mermaiding. So I offer astrology readings, and in-depth analysis into your birth chart and upcoming transits.
And I love that part of your story that you shared with me earlier on is that your life has been extremely intentional, going to these different places, doing different things, now ending up in Australia. And, again, for those skeptics out there, I mean, astrology, the cosmic, let's say, dimension really has an impact on us. I'm not going to try to explain it, but I do absolutely believe in it. And this is our opportunity today to kind of discover some things as well. So let's go ahead and do the role play. Una, I understand that you've got a problem, and Shara is the guide. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
before we even begin, could I just give like a sentence of context? So this is going to be more of a coaching process, because I do many different things. In fact, you came to one of my ancestral healing classes at 7 years ago or so. And so this is, I fundamentally believe that all the issues we have, whether it's difficulty finding a lover or alcoholism or, our self-worth, all those things fundamentally begin at an ancestral level, child level, like in your first few years of life, as well as in your past life. So for this one, we're going to focus on one specific process I do, and that's focused on inner child healing, going back to the origin of where it started in this lifetime. Okay.
I love it. Thank you for that context. That's amazing. Go ahead. Go for it.
So, Una, what can I help you with today?
Sure. Well, I have a very nice life, and I have a lot of lovely friends and family and people who care about me. But I always come back to this feeling like I'm alone.
Okay,
Mm.
great. So we're just going to deep dive because this is an hour and a half, or actually 2 hour process I take people through. So I want you to go back to the most recent time that you experienced that feeling of I'm alone.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking just before this call that underneath that the belief was I'll always be alone, or nobody wants to be with me, those kind of feelings, right?
Yeah, it's just sort of this feeling like it doesn't matter what I do or how many people I have in my life or anything like that. It's just that I have to do everything by myself or do it alone. So I just have this feeling like I'm on my own.
So go back to a time maybe this week that you experienced that,
Mm-hmm.
and tell me in a sentence or two what's going on.
Gosh,
Like
I had the
where are
had the
you?
flu. I had the flu and I was sick in bed.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I had like five different friends come to check on me and visit me and give me supplies even. But I just was like, how many more times in my life am I going to be sick and alone at home, by myself?
So what
And it
did
just,
that feel like inside your body when you felt that way?
um, in my body, it feels kind of scary and
What does scary
lonely,
feel like? What does that feel like? Feeling,
scary.
what is scary feeling like? Like where is your muscles contracting or holding on? What's going on with your breath when you're in that state?
Sure, yeah. It definitely is a contracted feeling. Um, it
Where do you
feels
feel that?
very contracted, meaning
Like where in your body do you feel the contraction?
like my chest feels tight, my stomach feels tight. Um, and I just have this sort of thinking that's telling me that um yeah, that I'm not, you know, loved or taken care of or something.
Yeah. So I want you to stay with that feeling. And ordinarily, if I was doing a real session, we would stay here for a while because I'm of the belief in order to get to the other side, you have to go through the discomfort and any sensation changes. So let's say we've been here for a good 10 minutes now, looking at how it's changing and what the experience is like. The next step is now I want you to take this feeling and travel back in time, regress yourself all the way back to your first few years of life. And you're going to go clunk on a visceral memory. Visceral memory means that it's before you have logical thought, like you might not have an actual time you remember it in your head, but you have a muscle memory of a time when you were about 3, 4, or 5 years old of having this experience inside your body. Take me to that experience. And it's the first thing that shows up.
Sure. Yeah, in my living room and I'm by myself and I want my mom's attention, but she's not there. And yeah, I'm just feeling like I need someone
Mhm,
to talk to or
mhm.
to hug me or to be with me, but it's not available.
That's great. So I want you to drop into first person, which means I want you to drop into the shoes of that little one. How old are you right now?
5.
Okay, great. So I want you to be with that memory. You're doing great, by the way. And now tell me, I'm going to refer to you as you, meaning the 5-year-old you. What's going on for you on the inside? What does that feel like to be experiencing that?
I feel sad and scared and lonely.
Yeah.
I feel confused.
And how do you experience confusion and scaredness?
I feel like I want to cry and I don't know why and I don't know how to get what I want.
Okay.
But yeah.
Let's just pause for a moment. Let's fully be with that experience and validate it because you have every right to feel that way. In fact, any little girl in that experience going, I know a little bit more about your story, having that experience that you're having in that moment would feel that way. So I want you to just be with that feeling, that fear, that wanting to cry. Just allow it, give it full permission to be there. Yeah, you are doing amazing. So let's say we spend a good 15, 20 minutes going deeper, examining this. Una's experienced with this. So now my next question as a coach is, what is it you need right now?
I need to feel like cared for and loved and attended to.
Exactly. And who's the best person to do that? It could be your future self, it could be an angel or a spirit guide or your mom or your grandma or anybody. The world is your oasis here.
Sure. I'll call upon like my adult or higher self to
Perfect.
give that.
Okay. So imagine there is your higher self sitting there. Are you sitting to the right or to the left, or where are you in relationship to your 5-year-old?
Yeah, like next to
On the right side?
on the left. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So now I want you to drop back into first person and I want you to become 5 years old, experiencing this experience you just described. And now presence the future Una to your left, having that, providing the wisdom. And what exactly is she saying and what is she doing?
She's just like kind of like patting my back and she's saying that I'm gonna be okay and that she gets why I'm lonely and sad, but it's only temporary, and that I'm loved, and
Okay, just
that.
pause for a second. I want you to actually drop into your higher self right now. And
Oh,
so I want you to speak to, I'm kind of switching it. So I wanted you to speak to the little one. And so you can
okay,
use the word you,
I
but
see.
you're doing great. Keep going with what you're doing.
Okay. So, I get that you're sad and you're lonely right now and you need someone to care for you, and just know that this is only temporary and you are very loved, and I'm here for you right now, and you can even be here for yourself. You can give yourself your own little hug and just know that your mom loves you and she'll be with you as soon as she can, and that you're doing great and you are really loved and cared for. It's just in this moment, it's just a temporary thing.
Perfect. Beautiful. Okay. So now I want you to switch out of that perspective and now go back into the younger one's perspective and check in on what that feels like right now. What has shifted hearing all that?
Yeah, I feel a lot more spaciousness in my heart. Like I can breathe a little bit easier. Mm. I still feel sad, but I don't believe like that it means that no one loves me. Like I'm just seeing it as a momentary thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I would stay here until every issue, every physiological contraction in her body is dealt with. We'd find a way to work through it till she feels safe. Ultimately, what we want is to have the little one feel safe and supported and loved the way that she needs from the person that she needs. And then after that, and I encourage you to stay in that process because you're in it now, so I don't want to leave you hanging, but continue with that on your own time. And then what I do is I would take the person back to present time. Okay, so fast forward a half an hour of the session. So let's come back to here you are sitting in this chair. Presence the date where we are. And now let's maybe take a walk back to that memory you mentioned a few days ago when you were laying in bed sick and you felt like I'm always going to be alone. And now I want you to bring in some of these wisdoms from future Una, and I would repeat back. I would take notes and I would repeat back the exact same things that she said. So go ahead and just take a moment. Let's send those into the memory of you a few days ago. Great. So we give you a few minutes to do that, and then let's future pace, which means now I want you to take your eyes to the right because in neurolinguistic reprogramming, the right is future time. So I want you to go to a future time because even though we did a lot of shifting here, I most likely if a belief has been with you most of your life, it's still going to be there even after the session. So let's go to a hypothetical future time when you may be thinking the same thought. You can make it up. You could be home or you could be wherever, doing work. And now bring the same wisdoms that future Una, Una's higher self, brought in to the little one. So just really briefly bring those wisdoms into the future picture. Take about another 5 or 10 seconds. And then when you feel complete, go ahead and open your eyes. And what was that like when you experienced the future experience of feeling like I'm always going to be alone? What was that like for you?
Hmm. Yeah. So I was just imagining somewhere I am planning on going where I do have that feeling often, even though I'm surrounded by a lot of people. Um, and I was just imagining that when I do have that feeling that I actually can tap into a different story around it and to kind of self-soothe myself in that scenario.
Absolutely. Wonderful
Mm.
job.
Mm.
Great job, guys. I know we went way over, but this is amazing. And just give context to the listener before I ask Una what that was all about for her. But yes, as Reverend Shara was saying, this is normally an hour-long process, and what you did
We're
was,
like 2 hours.
or 2 hours, yeah.
I carve out 2 hours when I do this full session. Yeah.
Well, anyhow, but I mean, what you shared with us was beautiful, and it's a very dramatic shift that people get to experience. But real quick for Una, I want to ask you, then I want to share something, and then we'll have Reverend Shara wrap it up. So, what was that all about for you? Give us a little context.
What was it all about? I mean, that's just one of my core childhood wounds, that feeling. So, yeah, I have a pretty big abandonment wound from childhood. So, it's one of those feelings that I go to quite often, which is that feeling of aloneness.
And the truth is, and thank you for the introduction earlier, Shara, because really it's the our ancestors and our upbringing in the very early years of our lives that has such an impact as to how we show up today. And a lot of it's very energetic. It's hold into all the energy systems. Most people don't recognize the body as an energy system, but we have 70 trillion cells and a very complex network of communication systems that are also based on energy. So basically everything is energy. I want to share a real quick story and give context to why I am very strong believer in all of this, and us also, again, I'll obviously share it because you came from an academic background, as did I, being very skeptical at first. But I also did a master's class in integrated energy healing out in New Mexico, and we did a lot of experientials. And one very interesting experiential, which kind of blew me away, shed light as to why I showed up in certain situations when I felt abandoned or betrayed in my relationships. And it was incredible how I must have been maybe 3 months old, or maybe 6 months old. I don't exactly remember what, but I remember a moment through that experiential, and it was more not the physical environment, but the feelings and the experiences that I was experiencing at that time, where I was hungry, my mother abandoned me or didn't respond to me, and then I went through a series of very interesting responses, which just kind of totally blew me away. And so this is, folks, this is real. And when you have somebody, like Shara, that can guide you through that process to be able to release that, because that is in such a deep-seated place within your brain, your body, your cells. We keep all of our memories holographically. It shifts our molecules. It shifts the configurations of all atoms within the body. And so this is deep work that has a serious impact. Shara, the mic is yours.
Oh, great. So my work is different than typical psychotherapy work because the shift has to happen at a physiological or at a cellular level. All of us have traumas from our early childhood. Being our mom was just busy and unable to attend to us, our traumas occur before our brain is developed enough to make sense of the world. And so we interpret the world in our few-year, just barely developed brain on to like how things are. And usually those beliefs that we develop, then we continue throughout our entire life. So a lot of what we need to do is reprogram our beliefs and our thought processes, but at a cellular level. Like for me to say to like someone like Una, you're great, you're supported, you're loved. It doesn't matter, and it doesn't have any impact until they actually feel it at their deepest core level, which is the reptilian or our youngest limbic level, before our cognitive brain started really to get developed. And so I do a lot of different forms. In fact, I will link a free belief change meditation that's on my YouTube here, which is like an hour process. And so there's many different processes I take people through, whether it's neuro-linguistic reprogramming or the other forms of work I do. But ultimately, it needs to happen at a cellular level where people can feel love. They could feel safety at the end. And if they don't, then I'm not doing a very good job at bringing them from point A to point B.
Yeah, and I really, for all of us out there, who are ready and courageous enough to step forward and recognize, I've got issues going on. I got my baggage going on. I'm showing up in a way that doesn't feel good for me. And I would say most of those people that are blaming the rest of the world for the fate that they're in, they're also very good candidates for all this work, because, we deserve that. And, the reality is, and this is the reason for this podcast, why I like to bring all types of ideas and practices here to play, so that people can then ultimately find out what's going to work for them. And the truth is, it's not just only one thing that's going to work. I mean, physiologically, biochemically, you might be out of balance, but also energetically, as you're talking about, you're also out of balance. So all of that works, absolutely together. And then we bring in the stars in there somehow, because that has an impact as well. And that's Una's work.
Yeah, I'm a big mind-body therapist. So I do somatic technique called Feldenkrais and some other things too. But so you could change it on the skeletal, the body level, or you could change it on the mental, psychosocial level. But when you integrate both, then it's much more powerful. And that's the way I work. So all of us. So another thing that I do is I host a manifestation group. And the reason why you don't have what you want, and everybody has something that they want that they don't have, so the reason why you don't have it is because there's a limiting belief that's standing in the way. Everybody in existence has 3, 4, or 3 to 6 limiting beliefs that they developed in their youth and that continue with them throughout their lifetime. And most people in their adult life still have the same limiting beliefs. Even, geriatric people, they just have different situations that they work with those limiting beliefs through. So I focus on deep neurological shift in order to help a person to get out of that limiting belief. And then we live in a law of attraction. So once someone's able to shift the limiting belief and turn it into a positive, then the whole world, everything that they could attract. That was my journey too. I struggled to find love, and then I changed beliefs such as that went around, and voila, I was able to attract love and all those things. I mean, the other thing is I'm making it sound really easy, and it's not, because even when you kick it out of the water once, you actually need to do it 100 more times in all different ways, So you have one method that works, that hypnosis therapist was great. It worked. You got to keep going in all different directions.
And you got to remember too, and the way the brain works, by the way, and that's, all these neural pathways. And then when you have a very intense experience, emotional experience, then you've actually created a super high neurological highway that, just needs to be eradicated over time. It's not going to happen right away.
Right. That's exactly right. People are always like, how do I keep this change, whether it's a body healing session and they change their skeleton and they're taller, or their thoughts change. How do I keep it? Well, you keep coming back, and that neurological pathway, you imprint it deeper. And I always say, when people sleep through the night after the sessions, it sets a deeper pathway. And so, you're dreaming, and when you're dreaming, neuropeptides are breaking apart and reforming and breaking apart and reforming. But there has to be a will. People will have to want to change in order for it to really.
There's a motivation and a commitment, because it's not just about taking one pill and everything magically happens. I know we have to wrap it up. Una, is there anything else that you want to share in this experience that's present for you, that you want people to know?
No, I feel complete with that process. Yeah.
That is awesome. And you did a beautiful job, and thank you for being vulnerable, by the way. It takes a lot of courage to do that in public. But that's also where the major shifts happen as well. So I'm sure you experienced something. So as we wrap it up, Shara, please share with us, how people get a hold of you, anything else that you want to share as far as, links that they can go to, and then any final thoughts and words from you, Shara.
So my website, sharaogen.com, that's SHARAOGIN. My book is on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles, and all of my women's group programs and I have retreats and one-on-one work. It's all on my website. And then also I'll refer you to my YouTube where I have over 80 videos. So we'll put the links below. So thank you very much.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Any final words?
I think I'm good. It's
Okay.
well, yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
All right, that's good. And because there'll be so much for you to want to share, by the way. Una, how do people get a hold of you, and any final thoughts?
Sure. Well, I have a couple websites. The Cosmic Mermaid Astrology is one of them, and that's how you can find me on socials as well. But I also have my retreat business, bellaretreats.com. You can also find me there.
Awesome. And I love that name, Cosmic Mermaid. So amazing, guys. I love this format because it just allows just such a wonderful diversity of opinions, of approaches, of practices, of insights, of wisdom, and ultimately magic. And we all want more of something. And it's really about having more health optimized and, you know, having the right people, which is why I like this platform, because I get to highlight you. Some people may relate to it, some people don't. But the truth of the matter is there's always something for someone out here, and that journey begins, you know, by listening in and finding out what that decision-making process is like, and then also experiencing, you know, what that process is like, so that once you are in that space where you can have that experience, you're ready, you know what it's going to be, and it's even more magical. So I want to thank you both. An amazing journey today. My name is Dr. Bart Rademaker, and this is the Doctor's Guide podcast, raw and unfiltered, and we will be back.